Welcome back to the Life Well Led podcast. We are so excited for today's guest, Kim Gameroz, who is the owner and founder of SELebrate Good Times. Kim, I'm so happy you're here.
Girl, I'm so happy to be here. This is the greatest in the flesh.
I know. Okay. I just love what you're doing and the community that you're building. So tell us all about it.
I mean, SELebrate Good Times didn't always start off as what it is today. And if you were to look like on social media or Instagram, you would see community. You would see teachers from across the nation who come together and who it looks like a party. It looks like fun. It looks like just, a blast, dinners. You're going to see retreats, but it didn't start off that way. It really was a party of one. It was just me in my classroom doing my thing. Until one day everything kind of changed.
Okay, so what changed?
So here's the thing. Being a teacher these days is tough. And we know that with COVID, teachers need more support now more than ever before. But even before COVID, I was just an elementary school teacher. I was in my classroom teaching my little first graders. I had a background in psychology, a master's in education. I was a professional dancer and high school dance coach. And it just got to a point where I just needed to be in the classroom all the time. And when that happened, I thought, this is it. I'm doing this forever. These people, they are my people. These 6-year-olds, we're going to have a party every day. And it just became increasingly more and more noticeable just how much support these little people needed. Undiagnosed autism or ADHD or ADD. I had a blind student before, spina bifida. Kids were coming to me emotionally disturbed, lots of trauma, all the things. And with my background in psychology and with, a passion for dance and energy up the wazoo and everything, I was just making stuff up. I was doing what I could to get us through the day and still get, academics in and everything. And when I saw my kids go on to that next grade level, I went, wow. When you hear a 7-year-old say, there's no place for me in this world anymore, we have a big problem, right? Yeah. Especially a little girl diagnosed with autism, when that's coming from her. That changed everything for me. And I went and searched for answers, for more. My colleagues were also so frustrated and angry at the children. We didn't know what to do. We were kind of just making up our own kind of thing. So I went and searched for answers. And I thought, well, who are the experts? Well, they didn't teach any of this stuff in teacher school. So clearly, the teachers don't know what they're doing. So who do you reach out to? I went to speech pathologists, occupational therapists, psychologists. Those are the people that I was thinking, okay, well, if you support this next category of kids that I'm trying to reach, then if I could bring it and support everyone in my classroom, that's where the answer lies. And it really did. And it created such magic in the classroom.
Your passion for this is so contagious, right? Your story about the 7th grader, gosh, I was almost in tears. What you are doing is making such a profound impact on these children's lives. So tell us a little bit more about what social emotional learning is.
So I feel I was doing social emotional learning before social emotional learning or SEL was even a thing. I didn't even know of that term back then. This is, again, pre-COVID years and years before COVID. So social emotional learning really is teaching kids the way the world works so they can work in the world and be successful. It is teaching them how to be cognitively flexible, have that flexible thinking and go with the flow. It is teaching them how to regulate their emotions throughout the day. It is executive functioning type stuff where they need to carry out a plan from point A to point B and also be able to shift when that plan needs to shift, but still meet their goal. It's so layered. It isn't fluff to me, and it kills me because out there in the world right now, Karen, there's a lot of fluff. A lot of companies who are trying to monetize and make a profit off of social emotional learning and off of COVID, and they're like running on the heels of all of that. And they're saying trauma, and they're saying evidence-based, and all of those are like little buzzwords where to me, I'm like, we really need to help the children. And by the way, you really need to help with the teachers. The teachers have no idea how to do this in a way that feels good and natural. They don't want a lesson. Parents don't want to sit there and like be like judged or talked down to.
Right.
So how do you make it simple for them? And that's now what I do. And that's what I teach my teachers. That's what I was doing in the classroom. That's what I coach. That's when I was coaching my former school district. And now I, work with school districts across the country. You just got to make it easy for the people and for the kids and speak their language. It's not remember when, and it never happened to them.
Right.
Or, let's paint a picture. What if, and again, they can't relate to that. It needs to be tangible and easy for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. You bring up such a good point, though. I feel like so many people just generationally, we haven't been taught how to deal with our emotions and how to deal with these things that are coming up. So how would that be passed on to our kids? How would that, come up in a classroom for a teacher if they weren't taught that? So how would you suggest that adults learn this type of coaching?
Oh man. I mean, you got to do some deep diving into you first. I think, with my community that I have, my super close knit coaching community, just last night we were on Zoom. We meet twice a month. And one of the teachers I heard that she was texting another one of the teachers in our group on the side. And she was like, damn, this is like therapy. And I was like, yeah. Yes. When she told me, she was like, yeah, so-and-so was saying, on the side, this is like a therapy session. And I was like, yeah, it kind of is. You need to do some deep work on yourself. But the thing is, like, that mindset shift doesn't just automatically happen. You really have to be open. You've got to be curious. You've got to be ready. But you also need a safe space and a community of like-minded people, not just educators, but parents too. You need a community of like-minded and heart-centered people to connect with and communicate with and collaborate with. And, without that sense of competition or trying to one up somebody else. This is deeper work.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, preach it. Yes.
I know.
I truly, I think that's something that we talk about all the time with our clients is just how do we get to a point of even getting folks in the corporate space or in a business environment to want to be vulnerable and make that okay. And I think being authentic, showing up as ourselves, and just it all starts with that. So all starts with being vulnerable. And I just love that you're sharing all of those fantastic messages with your teachers who are the heart and soul of our school system and a foundation for our children. So what you're doing is absolutely, absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Okay. I do want to segue a little bit into the business world. So Kim, did you ever imagine that you would be a business owner?
No.
What has that journey been like for you?
It's wild. I mean, I think back to, it must have been like 2015-ish, I want to say. And I was like, I think I'm just going to start posting on Instagram. Like I should just start posting some stuff because my classroom feels really fun and we're doing lots of creative things. And I just want to put out the creative stuff. That's honestly where it was. It was like themed art. I mean, that's why I was like, oh, look at these cute things, projects that we did for Christmas and whatever.
Love it.
And then when that change started happening and I was like, ooh, I'm learning a lot of good stuff that I know is going to support a lot of educators, or this anchor chart was really easy and really effective. And the kids, it really resonated with them. And it's so simple, like, let's just do it. I just started posting things and it really started to resonate with teachers. And then I was like, maybe I'm not going to stop. Maybe I'll, post picture books. Teachers love picture books. Families love picture books. Like, let me just start posting that. And then it was, let me start posting some inspirational quotes. And once I started getting this like following of people from literally everywhere, I was like, crap, this is really cool. Like how are you really connecting with all of these people?
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess fast forward, I started working at my former school district at our district office. And I remember walking in to my office, quote unquote. It was not even a cubicle. It was like a desk in the middle of nowhere. And my name, like there was like a little plaque that had my name on it. I was like, I made it. Did I made it? I made it here. Okay. And I remember sitting down and going, okay, get me to the people. Get me to the people. I need to be with the people. And I remember being in classrooms and going, oh my gosh, we have 18 elementary schools, 7 middle schools, and 4 high schools. How can I possibly do this as a party of one, like one person? And I remember they would just say like, Kim, you got to go over here. Kim, go to this school. Kim, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not putting out fires. We cannot do that. So I took everything from my classroom and everything that I knew, the good stuff, and I took my whole brain and my whole heart and I created a website for the district. And I was like, here it is in a beautiful way. And I remember like going, after that was done, going into classrooms. And I remember I had a meeting with a teacher or a speech pathologist who was out in New York. And I was like outside during school hours meeting with her. And she's like picking my brain about this website and how to do it for her school district. And after that call, Karen, I came back and I was like, I want more of that. I want more of that. I want to do that. I want to talk to these people. I want to I mean, that I think is like when the whole business thing kind of happened. And after that, I went to our superintendent at the time and I sat down with him and he was like, you need to get your doctorate. And I was like, I'm tapped out with school. I'm not going back. And he was like, well, what do you see yourself doing? And I was like, I think I want to do this, like support teachers and create a website and sustain a district over and over and over again. I want to talk to people. I want to do this across the country. And he literally looked at me and was like, take your show on the road.
Oh.
And I remember thinking,
oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Wait, I thought I made it. I thought I was like here forever. Like this is it.
This is it.
Yeah. And COVID, that was the same year that COVID hit. And I was thinking, well, this is what we're doing now then. We're out. And that's when we moved. We moved from California to Texas. And that's how it all started. I just got here to Texas and I was like, this is your time, Kim. You've got the people on Instagram. You've got teachers across the nation. You have incredible teachers that you've connected with in your former school district. Let's go. And so that was like the journey. That was the beginning.
Kim, incredible. Like all the pieces coming together and just falling into your lap and things just happening that way. So since you've been in Texas, you've been in business a couple years. What has that journey been like for you as you've grown your business?
Yeah. So 4 complete years. We're going into our 5th year.
Wow.
And now, I mean, really, it started off as just SELebrate Good Times. And I was working with schools and school districts, just kind of slowly and just me, a party of one, going out to schools. And I would fly and stay by myself in a hotel and then be with the teachers and then fly back home. Or working with school districts, I would go in there and ask them like, hey, what have you been doing to support social emotional learning? What are your teachers? What have they been trained in? And let's put this website or something together so it can sustain you. But it was really lonely, like really, really lonely as a party of one. And I remember a couple years in going like, I don't know how long that's sustainable for me and for my family. I mean, I had a young son, have a husband, like all the things. And so I started kind of looking at how do I grow this and sustain this in a way that feels really good for me. And I knew that it had to be investing in teachers who were interested in all of this work, but who literally could like download my brain and my heart and be extensions of me. And so, I mean, the short story is I've got them. These teachers are incredible. And I have mentor teachers now that work alongside me and who sound like me, coach like me. When I watch them in classrooms, I mean, I get literally like chills over my body. I'm like, wow, like being in their classrooms as teachers was phenomenal. But now fast forward years later and seeing them in a coaching role has really just lit me up. So now we can branch out and I can team them up. They can fly out. They can coach teachers, and it doesn't have to be me again, like a party of one. I don't want to do that anymore. And also because we've been expanding so much, because teachers need support. Nobody knows what they're doing. And that's okay, because nobody ever taught you this. I think that's so hard as a teacher to go like, why don't I have the answers? Why can't I fix the problem? But because there's such a need, now I've expanded so that SELebrate Good Times does exist. But all of that work, that intentional coaching, the schools, the districts, that's all through a new company, which is Teaching Inside Out, where we, as Teachers for Teachers, look from the outside in so teachers can teach from the inside out, right? From their core, from their heart. And then SELebrate Good Times has now morphed into, celebrating good times, baby. It is a community of teachers across the nation. It's teachers that invest in themselves. So they are paying out of pocket. Yep. On a teacher salary, they are spending their own money to be coached by me and my mentor teachers to, be in this great group of people who are just like them, people who get it like them. So we have them, and we have retreats, and we do our annual celebration, the Bloom, now every single April, where people literally fly in from all across the country just to be seen and supported and celebrated. And it's a whole lot of fun. Let me tell you, it's like the way when I look back, Karen, and I think of like how teachers are treated, and like how you're constantly feeling like you want to belong somewhere, right? Like you're trying to find a seat at a table that feels really good, and no one can really find that. You're either too young and you don't know anything, or you're too old and you're on your way out, or I don't know, it could be a million different things, but there is none of that in this group. It's really incredibly special when you feel like you always have a seat at the table. You just bring it on up, you found your people, you plop it down, and you belong. And that's what we do. It's intentional professional development and professional growth, but from people who really want it. So now it's 2, and it's beautiful. It really is. It's all just, I work with some of the best, and I know that. And I also know now that whatever you put out into the world, you will get back 100%. The people who you're meant to serve will look at you and be like, yep, I got you. You're my people. Every single person that I bring together, they leave going, oh my God, I have like 100 new best friends. How did this happen? They're all just like me. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing when finally you feel like you have the power to choose, instead of feeling like, it comes to you. I feel like in a education setting, it's like you just sit there and wait for the PD, and then you leave, and then nothing ever happens. Right. This is like intentional action that you actually want.
So Kim, how have you created this culture that is so strong among all of your teachers?
Okay, well, it goes to the bison, baby, which it's so great. Tell us more. I know, I have here. So I knew like a year in that I needed to have support. I needed to support. I never ran a business before. And so I hired a business coach. And she really, again, looked from the outside in so I could do my business from the inside out. And she had said something about, the difference between bison and cattle, and how in a thunderstorm, the cattle are terrified. They run away from the storm. They run in the opposite direction. But the bison, they run into the storm. And so I was like, ooh, I love that. Because I feel like me as a little old teacher, right? I could have easily just been like, get me out, right? There's so many teachers right now who they're tapped out. They're done. They're leaving the profession. Which is fine. That's a choice that they're going to make. Right. But I wasn't okay with leaving. And I knew that I needed to find an answer. And I literally headed straight into the storm, and I did not stop. And that's not to say that there was only one storm. There's been multiple, right? Over and over and over again. But you keep heading into them. And so bison, I kind of like love that idea of like, being a bison. And that sounded really cool in like a classroom setting, like teaching kids to have this growth mindset and head into the storms of life. It just was like, okay, how do I make this even more intentional And that word intentional kept coming up. And in bison, B-I-S-O-N, I is like, ooh, right there. And I was like, okay, how do I do this? So bison to me and my community and all the children who also practice this mindset is be intentional so others notice. And it's not that you're doing things to get noticed. That's the byproduct. That's what happens on the other end of being intentional. When I come in, like even when I came in here to see you today, it was like,
Right.
hi, big hug, right? That's intentional. It feels
Right.
really good. And I'm sure it made you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And because it made you feel a certain way, we got to continue to have this conversation and build on our relationship. And that is social emotional learning. And so this whole bison mentality really, I feel is the heartbeat of our community. It's become a thing. I mean, when I interview teachers and I'm talking to them, I'm asking them like, what's your biggest like bison moment? What's your biggest storm that you headed into? And then going into classrooms now and seeing students who are like, I'm a bison. Yeah, look at me. Like I got the bison award or I got the bison brag tag and they're so dang proud of it. Like that is what this work is all about. That will not stop. That will continue to drive us for sure.
Not only do I think that is an incredible symbol for what you do, but also your branding is amazing. The little bison everywhere, the little stuffed bison. I mean, it is just absolutely adorable how you've rolled that into everything and just like what you said, making everything so intentional about what you're doing and putting out there and how you're making people feel. I mean, it's just, it really is what you're doing is contagious.
Thank you. I mean, I think another part of it too is, and this is huge for everyone like listening to take note of, is you're celebrating growth. It's not just that you are expecting kids just to get it. You're teaching into these skills that are lagging or lacking, meaning they're completely not there at all in our kids and even in adults. Yeah. And so when you have, again, that sort of mindset shift and you're celebrating like the baby steps and the growth. I mean, we were talking just the other day about, blurting is a thing in the classroom, right? I mean, even think as a parent too, like if I'm having a conversation with another adult and my kid comes in and then my kid goes brr and starts talking to me, like blurting is a thing. It happens all the time. Okay. You always have thoughts that occur in your brain and you want to get them out and you want to say them. That's just who we are as human beings. But if a kid goes, guess what? I'm going to celebrate that. Like they didn't totally, not blurt, but they were able to go, oh yeah. Oh, I got to keep that in my thought bubble. I need to sit back and just take a chill pill. So-and-so is talking right now, mom, teacher, whoever it is. I'm going to give them their second to finish out their thought. And then I will, say what I want to say. I mean, celebrate that. Wow. Yeah. I noticed that you started saying what you was like, it like came into your brain and then you kept it in. Why'd you do that? And they're going to say something like, oh yeah, I noticed that you were talking and I remembered that I should probably keep it in my thought bubble and I stopped. Awesome job. Celebrate it. That's a bison moment. That is huge. That is social emotional learning. It doesn't happen like instantly, right?
So Kim, what would you suggest for the parents out there who are struggling and maybe don't have the support from their teachers and their school districts yet, and you haven't gotten to them yet? What would you suggest? How do we start this in the home?
Yeah. I think that, I love a good visual support. I think visuals, that is like my favorite word ever, a visual. Yeah. When in doubt, you need a visual to support you and to support your kids, because otherwise you're going to sound like a broken record and your kid is going to learn to tune you out and no growth is going to happen and you're going to be so frustrated. So visuals like, I don't even know, a visual schedule. It's summertime right now. We're recording. That is a perfect place to start. There's tons of different, tips and tricks and everything, but I think visuals for all the things, even like where to put things away, right? Like a little picture visual of what you expect, because that's the thing. We tend to just expect our kids just to do it, to get it, right away. And that's not the way we're wired. We really have to teach into all of these things. So I think visuals are huge. I also think you got to run with your people. You need to
Mm-hmm.
find your people. You need to find a community that gets you. So I have a parent community that I run of, mamas with kids with autism. And the majority of them are kids who are in middle school. Although one of our mamas, she also has a kiddo who is not even in kindergarten yet. So we do have, the experience to talk about, but like you need to have your people. You really, really do. You cannot do this alone. You're not meant to do this work alone. You can't just expect that you're going to like open up a book, right? And like find all your
Right.
answers and be able to, see magic happen. It just doesn't happen that way. So I think visuals, I think find your people. I think those are two great places to start for sure.
I love that. Kim, as you think about this whole journey and where you've come so far and where you're going to go, tell me a little bit about what it really means for you.
Oh my gosh.
Big question.
I know it's huge. It's huge. I just think of like all of the educators and all of the students, the children, the families that are impacted by this work. I think I could have easily stayed in the classroom and just had my little group of 30 year after year after year. I would have been fine. People always ask me too, like, what would you do right now if you weren't doing this? I'd go back to the classroom in a heartbeat. Get me to the children. I want to have fun with the kids all day long. Like kids to me are way easier than adults. Their mindset,
There you go.
Their mindset is definitely moldable.
Yeah.
Whereas an adult is like a hard no sometimes.
It's true.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Or I would be, and we've been watching the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on Netflix, and I could
Great show.
totally be a part of that crew and help support them. Choreography, building a team. Like I love all that stuff too. Like running a high school dance team was for sure one of my favorite things I ever did. But when I think now of, in just a single school district, to think of every single teacher that I get to work with, right? 90 this past school year,
Amazing.
90 of them.
Wow.
The year before we only had like 20, right? So the year before it started off as 20, just in one school district. And again, there's multiple that I work with, right? But in one that's really when I think of, I don't know how it should go. They've listened so well. We joke around. They followed the group plan very, very well. They started off as a group of 20 and then a group of 90 this last year. And then it will grow again next school year. When I think of, you do the math, 90 times 30, like that to me. And when you think of middle school teachers are in there too, and they have multiple periods. So it's a 30 and 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 a 30 every single day. I just think, wow, they need this.
Yeah.
We all need this. And it's just going to, again, I know the support of my mentor teachers just gets to grow so much bigger than I know we can even wrap our minds around now. And it makes me so excited to think that they're going to feel lighter. They're going to feel empowered. The adults are going to be, I don't know, they're going to feel like they want to be in their job. It's going to change everything. But again, it will only change if they want it, right? They have to be ready and willing to change. I think that's a huge thing right now for me when I talk to superintendents, assistant superintendents, directors of education. Like, what are you willing to do?
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to put into this? Where do you want to start? And I think those questions, like nobody asks superintendents or directors of education like those questions. They usually just get somebody who is giving them a product, right? More of like a curriculum, a book or whatever, right? Let's just push this out instead of a service. And I think a service is hard for them to go like, what do you mean you're going to completely transform the lives of my educators? What do you mean? Like, how are you going to do that? And like, you just need to like, trust me. Like, this whole bison thing is a thing. Surrounding them with people who get it is a thing. Having a teacher who understands teachers and knows how to talk to them is a thing, because right now, the majority of people who are standing up there and, giving PD or coaching or doing a keynote, it's like a one and done. There is no action that takes place. And when you have consistent action happening over and over and over again from a trusted person
Mhm.
who makes you feel safe and seen and heard, it changes everything. It really changes the game. So I
Mm.
can't wait for that to happen more and more. I can't wait for the leaders in education to go, okay, yeah, what we've been doing for the past X amount of years is not working. Okay, Kim, we're willing, we're ready, we're open. That's what I'm excited for.
Oh, Kim, you're taking the world by storm. Plan A, Plan B, Dallas cheerleaders.
Totally, you should have seen me last night. I'm like doing all of it. I'm like, oh my God, get me to a game. Get me to a game.
Oh, I love it. Okay, last question for you.
Yes.
We love to ask all of our guests this. What does it mean to you to live a life well led?
Mm. Oh, I think, I put me last for so long. And that has definitely been a shift that's been happening in the past year, I want to say, right? So I feel like now, yes, oh my God, my teachers are like my everything. They're my everything, but like I am my number one. And I know that I need to, in order to be the best version of myself, in order to keep going, in order to pour into my family
Mhm.
and them and schools and friends and all these people that are important to me, I will burn out if I do not live my life and put myself as number one first. So I think that's everything. That's living a life well led for sure, is when you realize that you, in order to pour into the people that are important to you, you need to put yourself first.
Kim, keep lighting the world on fire. It is truly inspirational. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.